what's up guys, Colby Dean here again. Today looking at a 1995 Cadillac Seville STS. Got the 4.6 Northstar 32 valve motor in here. And today we are changing an alternator out. As you can see, we got our alternator down here. I just want to do a quick run through on this job. First thing we did was we went ahead and took this cover off, this plastic cover, which is right here. Just had some little plastic Phillips head screws. Then we went ahead and pulled out the first fan motor, which has a little tab on the bottom here that just slides in. Down at the bottom up top, I believe it was two 10mm bolts. I unhooked the second fan over here, also two 10mm bolts with the tab on it. We then unhooked the airbox that was here. One 8mm hose clamp. That entire airbox just popped out. And there was this plastic guard here, which is right on top of the radiator. Has three 10mm going in there. Take that off, as well as this impact sensor for the airbags. 4 bolts, 2 on top here, and 2 going in here. Next thing we're doing is we're going to get this fan out of here and gain access to the drain plug so we can drain this radiator out to lift the radiator out. Alright, I pulled 2 little plastic tabs off and it pulled the shield away here to let the coolant drain. I'm letting that drain in there. Once I got that fan out, you get able to reach right down there, and I was able to turn mine by hand. But loosen that petcock also. Loosen that up, you'll drain faster, and go ahead and drain all that radiator fluid out. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the next step here. Alright, while that radiator is draining out, I went ahead and sprayed the 4 cooler lines with WD-40. You got one here, one down below that hose, and you got 2 over on this side. Same spot, there's one on top and one down at the bottom. I know it's hard to see, but you'll see it. Go ahead and lube those up, and then I'm going to take these 2 radiator hoses off just to get them out of the way. Once we get those cooler lines broke loose, we'll then be able to lift that radiator out of there. Okay, I got the 2 radiator hoses off. Those are 8mm clamps on this particular car. Down here I have the 2 tranny lines off. They're both 16mm. There's one on the bottom right below that inlet for the radiator hose, and there's one here. I put a little pan underneath just to catch what was coming out of the radiator, and point the lines up towards the top so they don't drain out. And now we're going to move on over to this other side and get those 2 cooler lines there. Okay, I took those other 2 cooler lines off over there. Those were, I used a 7/8 to get those 2, let that drain out. I didn't lose too much fluid there, as you can see. Once you get that loose, there is a 10mm on top of this side of the radiator, and there's a 10mm on this side. Now, down about 3/4 of the way down, there's a little tab. You can see that tab down there that this needs to slide into, so you actually have to lift this condenser bracket up. Now over on this side, in order to get enough clearance to, let's see if I can show you, see there, I got it, it's loose already. In order to lift this condenser bracket up high enough, I took out this black little box here. It had one 10mm in it. It just slides right over your air intake here. Once you get that out, I was able to lift up on this, and I used a long pry bar, reach down in there and release those, slid that away so that I could release that radiator. Now this radiator can lift straight out. Alright, we got the radiator lifted out of there. I went ahead and removed the battery, 14mm on the bracket holding that battery down. Now you can see we got our belt exposed. I got a 1/2 inch breaker bar in there. Going down on that, I'm going to be able to release the belt, and then we will start unhooking that alternator. On the back side, we got one plug here that's got to come off, and under this cap, we got a nut here. We got to take that hot wire off that as well. We got a total of 4 bolts holding this alternator on. The one on the front here, right on the top, is pretty easy to access. There's another one right on the bottom. Right down here, I was able to get with a 15 1/2 inch drive ratchet, no problem. Now on the back side, there's two. There's one here, and there's also one back there. You can see, but looks like this alternator's been changed and somebody left it out. But there is a fourth bolt going all the way back there in the back if you look in that mirror. Those are the 4 bolts holding this alternator on. I went ahead and moved this ground strap out of the way just so I could tuck all these power wires up under here for clearance. And I'm going to go ahead and loosen those 3 bolts, even though there should be 4, and we'll drop that thing out of there. Alright, we got the alternator out. The bottom bolt, that 15, like I said, I was able to use a 1/2-inch drive to break it loose. And then used a little ratcheting 15 stubby to back that one out. The top bolt here, piece of cake. As you can see, that bolt's just kind of hanging in there. It's up against that heat shield on the muffler. And the 4th bolt was never installed by the previous guy. And the alternator's out. You take it out along the bottom there. As you can see, it's still laying there. And you're just going to pull it right out on this side, lift it up on out, and you're all set. Go ahead and throw it back together and you should be good to go. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope I could help.